I never used to believe in things like this. Ghosts, spirits. To me, they were just stories. But after that night, I can't drive alone at night anymore. This happened about a year ago. I was working an IT job in California. That night, I got off work really late. By the time I left the office, it was already past 1 a.m. My apartment was far from the city. I had to take a long, empty highway to get home. And that night, something felt off. There was no moon in the sky, just thick, black clouds covering everything. Some of the streetlights were broken. The road felt swallowed by darkness. I was driving, listening to an old song on the radio, but suddenly the radio started cutting out. Static noise filled the car. Kurr, shh. I frowned and switched channels, but every station had the same sound. And then the radio turned on by itself. A faint, distorted voice came through. "Help me." My heart skipped a beat. I quickly turned it off. I told myself, just a signal issue. But something didn't feel right. I pressed the gas a little harder. The clock read 2:17 a.m. And that's when I saw her. At first, just a shape in the headlights. Then it became clear. A girl, standing on the side of the road, wearing a white dress, her long hair covering her face. She wasn't moving, not even a little, like she had been standing there, waiting. My mind started racing. What is she doing here? Is she in trouble? Or is this a trap? I was about to drive past her, but then she slowly lifted her head and looked straight at me. I swear, her eyes didn't look human. They were empty. No light, no life, just deep, hollow darkness. My hands tightened on the steering wheel, but stopped. I still don't know why. Maybe curiosity, maybe stupidity. I rolled down the window. She slowly walked toward me. No sound, no footsteps. It felt like she wasn't even touching the ground. My throat went dry. She stopped beside the car. I still couldn't fully see her face, just pale lips slightly visible through her hair. Then she whispered, "Can you give me a ride?" There was no emotion in her voice, none at all. I hesitated. Then, without thinking, I said, "Yeah, get in." She opened the door. I heard it clearly, but the car didn't shift at all, like no one got in. I swallowed hard. I looked in the rearview mirror. She was there, sitting in the back seat. But something was wrong. The darkness around her felt thicker, like the light couldn't reach her. I started driving again. Silence filled the car. Then I asked, "Where are you going?" She paused, then said, "Just drive." Her voice sounded different now, like multiple voices speaking at once. My fingers went cold, and then I noticed the temperature inside the car was dropping fast. My breath became visible, but the AC was off. Slowly, I looked in the mirror again, and this time, what I saw paralyzed me. Her head was tilted unnaturally, like her neck was broken. Her hair had moved, and now I could see her face. Torn skin, deep cuts, and her eyes empty. But her lips were smiling, a twisted, unnatural smile. I tried to stop the car, but my foot wouldn't move. Then she spoke, "Do you know how I died?" I shouted, "Stop! Get out of my car!" But she didn't listen.
She leaned forward, slowly, very slowly. I felt her hand touch my shoulder, ice cold. My entire body froze. Her face was right next to mine now. I could smell something rotten, like blood. Then she whispered, "Right here." And suddenly, bang! A deafening crash. I looked forward. Something was right in front of the car. I slammed the brakes. The tires screeched. The car skidded. I shut my eyes. Then, silence. A few seconds passed. I slowly opened my eyes. My hands were shaking. I turned around. No one. The seat was empty. But it was wet. I reached out, touched it. Cold, thick, blood. I didn't wait another second. I drove away as fast as I could. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I saw the news. 10 years ago, a girl died in a hit-and-run accident on Highway 17 at exactly 2:17 a.m. My heart stopped. I kept reading. Then I saw her picture. Same girl, same white dress, same face, same smile. My phone slipped from my hand. But that's not the end. Ever since that night, not every time, but sometimes when I drive alone at night and I look into the rearview mirror, I see her, sitting there, silent, watching me. And slowly she leans forward, close to my ear, and whispers, "Can you give me a ride?"
Last summer, I was walking alone near the forest behind my house. We all knew that deep in the woods stood an old abandoned house, 2 stories, roof partially collapsed, windows shattered. People said that many years ago, a family lived there. One night, the entire family mysteriously vanished, and no one ever knew why. Since then, the house had been avoided by everyone. That evening, curiosity pulled me closer. From a distance, the house looked chilling, green vines covering the roof and walls, the surrounding forest dark and silent. I started walking around the outside, peeking through the broken window frames. Suddenly, my eyes caught an old, dusty glass mirror, cracked and barely holding together. At first, I saw nothing in the reflection, but then, in the corner of the mirror, a pale, faded face appeared. White hair, sunken eyes, shadowed in darkness.
I instinctively stepped back, but the face in the mirror slowly edged closer. Even though fear was gripping me, curiosity forced me inside. I slowly pushed open the door. The inside smelled of dust, decay, and something I couldn't identify. Broken wood creaked under my feet, and shadows seemed to stretch unnaturally. Suddenly, in one corner, something moved. I froze. A shadow, like the softest footsteps, was inching toward me. I tried to run. Then a voice cracked the silence. "Why are you here?" It was dry, terrifying, almost like the voice had been trapped for decades. I froze, scanning the room. No one was there. A faint breeze rustled through the forest outside. With it came a sound, 2 wooden pieces scraping against each other, slowly descending from the ceiling. My heart was pounding like it would burst. Then, on the floor, I noticed tiny footprints, strange footprints, one after another, heading deeper into the house. I wanted to escape, but the door suddenly slammed shut. I was about to scream when I saw a hand emerge from behind the old broken sofa in the corner. The hand slowly lifted, and in the mirror's reflection, the same pale face stared at me. Hollow eyes, empty mouth, every breath trapped in my chest. I tried to back away. Suddenly, the ceiling collapsed with a deafening crash, as if the entire house was shaking. I ran out as fast as I could into the darkness of the forest. The sound of broken wood under my feet, the faint echoes of a distant wail, everything made it feel like someone was still watching me. When I finally reached a safe distance, the forest was quiet again, but through the cracked window, I caught a glimpse of that pale face staring back at me. For a moment, it felt like it was following me. When I turned quickly, nothing was there, just shadows and dust floating in the air.
That night, even after I got home, sleep never came. I dreamed of that pale face, the broken ceiling, the creaking wood. For weeks, whenever I was alone in my room, it felt like someone was still inside. Tiny footsteps, faint breathing. Days later, I never walked near the house again. But one evening, I looked toward the forest and saw a shadow slowly walking across the abandoned house's windows. It felt like they were still waiting, silently, for someone to enter again.
It was a weekend trip. Me and my 3 friends, Daniel, Mark, and Jason, decided to go camping in a remote mountain area in the United States. It was one of those places where barely anyone goes. No signal, no nearby houses, just forest and silence. We arrived in the late afternoon. Tall pine trees everywhere, cold air, and this strange, heavy quietness. At first, it felt peaceful, almost too perfect, but everything changed after sunset. Around 10 p.m., we were sitting near the campfire, just talking. Suddenly, Jason said, "Do you guys hear footsteps?" We all went silent. Somewhere in the distance, we could hear it. Slow footsteps dragging across dry leaves. At first, I thought it was probably a deer or some wild animal, but the sound didn't stop. It kept moving, circling around us. Mark turned on his flashlight and pointed it toward the trees. Nothing. Then Daniel whispered, very quietly, "That's not a human." We looked again. Between the trees, something was standing there. It was hard to see clearly in the dark, but one thing was obvious. It wasn't normal. It was too tall, unnaturally tall. Its body looked twisted, and its arms were extremely long, hanging below its knees. We couldn't see its face properly at first, but it felt like it was staring directly at us. Then it took a step forward, and that's when we saw its face. Its eyes, too big, completely empty, no light in them at all, and its mouth stretched unnaturally wide like the skin had been torn open, revealing long, sharp teeth. Jason suddenly screamed, "Run!" We all ran toward the tent, but when I looked back, it wasn't running like a human. It was moving on all fours, incredibly fast.
The sound of its hands hitting the ground. Thap, thap, thap. It was getting closer. We jumped inside the tent and zipped it shut. Outside, the sound didn't stop. Something was walking around the tent, slowly, heavy breathing, right outside. Then suddenly, the side of the tent pushed inward. Something was pressing against it from outside. I froze. Then I saw it. A handprint on the fabric of the tent. But it wasn't human. The fingers were too long, twisted, unnatural. And then a whisper. "You shouldn't be here."
I swear that voice wasn't human. None of us made a sound. For about 20 minutes, it stayed there, circling us. Then suddenly, silence. Complete silence. We waited until sunrise. The moment the sun came up, we ran to the car. But before leaving, we saw something that made us stop. On the ground, all around our tent, not footprints, marks of something moving on all fours. And each print was far too large to be any animal we knew. Even today, I don't know what we saw that night. But one thing is certain: it wasn't human.